think the best Everton can hope for is a draw.
Oh, dear.
It's almost like they didn't know what was coming their way. It's Sean Dyche.
His style of football, we don't want to see that in the Premier League.
Is that it for Arsenal? Have they blew it? Oh!
Sean Dyche, Steve Austin Blood.
Sean Dyche!
Here it comes! Stone Cold Steve Austin said, I just whipped your son big. How about...
What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and this is, look, a little catch-up video. Not loads and loads of stuff has happened this week. We're going to get straight into the press conference. Sean Dyche has literally finished about, I don't know, a couple of hours ago now. So let's just talk about it. Sean Dyche come out. It's his first Merseyside Derby as a manager. He's watched it as a spectacle. He thinks it's a great game. He knows it historically. He knows it as Liverpool fans sitting with Everton fans. And although that doesn't really happen anymore, won't happen as much, he, alluded to that. He alluded to Jurgen Klopp as a manager, or was alluded by the media to Jurgen Klopp being manager, and the little moments they had last season with Jurgen when he was the Burnley manager. And they also spoke about, the fact that Liverpool are going into this game with no confidence. So it's weird, really. The problem is with this Merseyside derby, and the previews tomorrow, so don't get too ahead of yourselves, is the game, it doesn't matter. A lot of people say, form matters, and you go into a derby, form's out the window. If there is ever a game that absolutely epitomises that, it is the Merseyside derby, because Everton could be flying, Liverpool could be on their knees, yet they still find a way of beating us. So it's really frustrating. I think Everton go into this game a bit more confident. But it will really be interesting to see who starts up front, because the news is that Calvert-Lewin hasn't trained all week. I suspect as a result of him not training all week, I don't think we're going to see him against Liverpool, if I'm being honest. So who do you start up front, Malpay or Sims? Again, we'll discuss that tomorrow. But these are all things that I think you really need to start thinking about, because you're going into this derby. We need to find the player that can do a job, i.e. hold up the ball, keep it, be strong. For me, is Ellis Sims. I'd start Ellis Sims, but I'm not giving too much away. That is it. That is all you're having as a preview for the preview of the Liverpool v Everton preview. Other news, MSP have been linked with £105 million for 25% of the football club in a minority shareholding. I can see legs in this. The only thing I'm going to say is it wouldn't surprise me if there's other people in the market. I think there probably is other people in the market. I'm very surprised that Everton, if they're prepared to sell some stake, that people haven't tried to buy the whole thing. Very similar to what happened with the Kaminsky family, potentially, where, it was a minority shareholding, but then they wanted the whole cake. Which again, I'm not against. But it will be interesting to see if anyone comes out and does that. They say that there's a Premier League team in trouble. If Everton could keep themselves up, do we become more attractive all of a sudden? You'd probably argue we do. I think the fact that MSP didn't go through before January makes me think it won't go through until the summer. If it goes through. And also if somebody else is not interested. And it will also be interesting because if somebody else comes in with some money, some potential, millions that can be used towards the stadium and also improving the playing squad, it'll be interesting to see how financial fair play affects us at this point, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know, because I have completely lost track. Everton went and spent £600-700 million in 7 seasons or whatever it'll be. But actually, you've got teams now that are spending £600 million in 6 months. So I don't know at this point what financial fair play is. And if teams like Manchester City and teams like Chelsea get a slap on the wrist, then I think it means that teams like Everton and like Aston Villa and, like other West Ham, I think they'll go, okay, well, let's go for it then. Let's just spunk the money in and pay whatever fine we get. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think it'll be much of a deterrent if it's not a big thing. So I think that's interesting. And, we all know the gaps in this squad. We all know them. We probably need a little bit more quality on the wing. I still think, as of right now, we need a number 10, and I'm going to talk about someone we've been linked with in a moment. And I think we need a striker who can consistently be on the football pitch of a better quality than Calvert-Lewin. And I'm not saying Lewin's a bad player on his day, but, if Everton have got ambitions of progressing back up the league, they need a player that can score you good goals. And he hasn't done that in a while now. So that's where I am with that ideology. Everton have been linked with Isco on a free transfer. Apparently meetings have been held. I'm not against Isco. And I know people will say, Mike, why, why are you not, why do you think he fits, etc., etc., etc. The reason I'm not against Isco is because he does one thing that our midfield, I would argue at the minute, can't do, which is keep the ball and pass it. You've got a Wobie who's at times a bit legless, goes everywhere, a bit headless chicken, all over the shop. You've got a Nana who's very raw, very powerhouse type, put a tackle in, carry the ball, but he doesn't put his foot on it and look for that pass, look for that composed gap in the space, break the lines, etc. And Garner, you've got the same. You've also got the other Garner who I think his game's more defensive. So we could do with like a 10-ish, I'm not going to say complete 10, but a 10-ish type player who can score some goals, can chip in with a few assists. And I think that would really help in the middle of the park. The one area that I thought Everton at times looked a little bit weak from was when we were in the final third, but just on the outside of their sort of like D. That sounds horrendous, doesn't it? Just when we were just outside the 18-yard box, because I thought to myself, if there's a player there on a pullback, if it's somebody with a wand of a left or a right foot, he's going to pop off chances, and, one or two of them may go in every so often, and that would be great. We see Ward-Prowse, he sort of sits back and, will score from outside the box, or he's got a free kick in him. I feel like Isco could be that type of player, and I'm not getting all excited because he's former Real Madrid and all of that. I'm not. I just do think he'd be a decent addition, and if you got him on an 18-month contract on a not stupid wage, I'd be all right with it. It does depend on his injuries, and I know he's had some bad ones. But there is a talented player in there, and if you can just keep him fit, yeah, he probably could be a good addition. Other players that have been linked with even moves away. Branthwaite, who's playing on loan currently at PSG, he's getting a lot of interest from a lot of clubs, and that's because he's so good. And I'm sure Sean Dyche will get his hands round him in the summer and really try and mould him into the centre-back that he feels he can be, which is a ball-playing, composed centre-back, young lad who's clearly very talented. And again, that'll be a real bonus because it's one of these players that have been bought in for a nominal fee, but actually could sell for a significantly higher fee. And Everton don't have loads of them anymore because of the silly fees that we've paid over the last 3, 4, 5 years. So it'd be good to get him back and get him back on track in that sense. Other things that happened in the week, not really Everton related, but it kind of is Leeds getting a draw at Man United. They were 2-0 up. I felt like as soon as they went 2-0 up, it was abundantly obvious they wouldn't win the game. I think while it was 1-0, they were still trying, they were still playing a similar way. As soon as they went 2-0 up, they capitulated. I mentioned this to Connor, who's obviously on one Leeds. You could sort of see it coming. Leeds are a point above us, but on the same amount of games. I think they've also got Manchester United again before they play Everton at Goodison. So, again, tough few weeks for Leeds. And this is where Everton they've got to try and get something out of this Liverpool game, because with Wolves winning, Leeds getting points, Forest continuing to get points, they've got to do something. So be interesting to see going forward. But yeah, we'll see.